Hello everyone, and welcome to this overview on the Creating Databases and Tables section of the course. In this section of the course, we're going to be learning how to create databases and tables and manipulate the data inside of them. So previously in the other sections, we've been mainly reading from tables or databases where the data is already in there and it already exists, and we've been learning how to read data from them. So in this section, what we're going to focus on is how you actually create those tables and insert data into those tables themselves using SQL syntax. So if your profession or job as some sort of analyst is going to mainly consist of just reading from tables, and you're not actually ever going to have to input your own data through SQL syntax directly, this entire section may not be super useful, but it will help you build a better understanding of how these databases and tables actually interact with each other. And it'll even give you a good understanding of how web application databases work. So a quick note, many of the concepts in this section are interconnected, meaning it's a bit difficult to teach them in any sort of proper order. And what I mean by that is, let's say there's concept A and concept B. There's no real order to concept A first versus concept B second, because you kind of need to learn both of them at the same time in order to use one or the other. So keep that in mind if a video alerts you to something that will be addressed in more detail in a future lecture. So if there's ever a situation like this, you'll hear me point out, don't worry, we're going to learn about this topic in a future lecture. However, I have tried my best in order to present all the data and all the lectures in a straightforward and orderly manner. So that straightforward and orderly manner is going to start like this. We're going to start by understanding data types in a little more detail, and we're also going to go over what primary and foreign keys are in more detail. Then we will practice creating tables and manipulating the data rows inside of them. And then we will learn how to manipulate entire tables. And then finally, we're going to end with some more in-depth view of some constraint concepts. And we'll cover what constraints are in a future lecture. So a quick note, this section won't really focus on challenges too much because a lot of the syntax in this section is actually going to correspond exactly to what you would expect for normal phrasing. So for example, if a challenge question asked, create a table called test table. Well, a lot of the syntax really matches up and basically says exactly what it does. So the answer to that question would just be create table, test table. And you're going to notice that as you go along, let's say there's another question that says, insert these values into a table. The syntax for that is actually going to be insert blank values blank. So this entire section doesn't really lend itself well to challenge questions because the questions would essentially just give away the answer. So this entire section is really more to beef up your own knowledge and just build an understanding of how databases and tables are created and how they work. So as always, feel free to ask any discussion questions for hints, tips, extra resources or information, or to clear up any confusion on any of these topics. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.